Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So in this video I will be watching a video titled "Should this Christian leader tell his wife he's gay?" question mark in bracket reaction. So this is by What Do You Meme. I have watched several of his videos and I'm interested to see his reaction and his point of view about this question about a Christian leader who is a gay. Without further ado, let's watch.
Someone sent me a video from Jubilee and told me that it was about a man who apparently is a Christian church leader who says that he's gay and he wondered if he should come out to his wife. So I decided to do a reaction to it, and as I watched it, it made me start to think about what does it truly mean for us to be our true and authentic selves, what do we do about secrets in marriage, and also how we can love and support each other as Christians. So let's go ahead and watch the video together and you'll get my reaction and my thoughts along the way. All right, let's go.
I love my wife, but I'm gay. Should I come out now? Yes or no?
We brought together a group of strangers to help an anonymous person make one of their toughest decisions.
My wife is the most important person in my life, and I would never want to do anything to hurt her. But I'm also gay, so I'm not sure how to approach it or even how to come out.
Okay, pause right there. Now, first off, I'm sure that this sounds like a position that nobody wants to be in. So I'm sorry that he's in this sort of position. But if his same-sex attraction is that big of a deal where he's willing to come on a show like this to talk about it, then I'm sure that it's already hurting his marriage in all kinds of other different ways, such as him not being physically attracted to her and her thinking that it's her fault or something like that. Not to mention that the intimacy in the marriage has to be negatively impacted by something like this, as well as him keeping a secret from her. So I'm sure that she's been hurt by this situation already. But let's go ahead and keep going.
How long into the relationship did you realize you were gay?
I knew before I got married.
How did you meet your partner?
We grew up in the same community together. We started off as friends, then best friends, and it grew from there.
Okay, hate to pause right there, but I'm already confused. If they were friends, and especially best friends, then how did she not know that he was attracted to men? I mean, I understand that it could be hard to admit something like this to somebody that you care about, but I don't understand why he felt that he couldn't before they were even romantically involved in the first place, if they were just friends. I guess I just don't get it. I don't understand how this works if you don't have that honesty and you feel like you can't talk to the person in this kind of context, especially as you realize or decide that you want to marry this person. It seems like this would be something that would be important to be able to tell the person, but I don't know. Let's keep going.
I mirror that sentiment. Generally speaking, first when he said that, for one, I thought about how deep of the conversation between the two, because if I don't know, because I assume Christian in general do not really put a boundary towards between boy and girls conversation and relationship, so they can talk about very very personal stuff. But even if a more conservative, they don't even talk about that. At least before going to the point of considering as a life partner, surely if you would already think that this is a big issue that need to be known to other person, because it's fair for the other person to know that you have this problem, right? I mean, otherwise it will impact greatly. Not just your life, but the girl as well.
Is your partner supportive of everything you do?
In our viewpoints on religion, yes. In terms of supporting the LGBT community, no.
So religion is a big cornerstone of your guys' relationship?
We both grew up in the same religious community, so we both grew up with the same values and the same social guidelines, so yes.
Do you think your wife knows you're gay?
No, she doesn't.
What was the main reason as to why you went to the yes side?
I have a few family members in the LGBTQ plus community. I know all their experiences coming out have been positive, at least in the long run. I really thought to myself about him coming here, wanting to share his truth and speak to us about it. I knew that it's about time. It's starting to boil over and he needs to come out.
What was your reasoning for marrying a woman even though you knew you were gay?
I thought that if I got married, that it would change me and that I could become straight.
Okay, I just noticed that everybody's nodding as if they get it, but I don't. I mean, I kind of get it if maybe he's thinking that if he were to marry his wife, then his attraction would grow, and the more that his attraction grew, then he would no longer be attracted to anyone else. Now, if that's it, then okay, I can understand that. That makes sense to me, and I'm sure that some straight people might assume the same thing. Let's see what he says next.
What are your intentions in life, and how do you want to feel about your life?
I want to be truthful, but I also don't want to hurt the people surrounding me.
Okay, now I can definitely understand that because people who are more conflict avoidant are afraid to hurt people if they tell them the truth. But what they often don't seem to realize is that it hurts people when you don't tell the truth and you aren't honest a lot of the time. What I kind of realize is that in marriage, or maybe it extends past marriage to all kinds of other things, but people have a certain temperament. Some people's temperaments might be more conflict avoidant and some other people's might be too confrontational. So the way that I think about it is I think that it's good for people to push against their natural temperaments in relationships for the sake of learning to speak the truth in love. In a marriage, you don't want to give the truth to your spouse in a way where you're doing it in order to punish them. And you don't want to not give them the truth either because just avoiding conflict is going to make your relationship far worse.
I'm a very honest person. I don't lie. So the fact that I'm basically living a lie right now gives me a lot of anxiety and depression.
Okay, I respect that, but hiding the truth in some situations is in fact lying.
But I know if I came out suddenly, it would devastate her.
I think it depends on that guy's opinion of what he is facing. Right, meaning that if, for example, I have anger issue, but I'm trying to control it, and I sincerely believe that by having this relationship, it will help me to control that anger issue and it will go away. If I truly believe that, or someone truly believe that, then the hiding that they have the initial issue might not be, to their perspective, lying. But if, in certain things, if you can anticipate that it will cause a bigger problem in the future, but you still hold back that information, that's a problematic.
The thing is, I'm bisexual, and I would have never said anything if I ended up falling in love with a man and everything worked out. And I fell in love with a woman, and I didn't want to hide anymore. Being your authentic self is my principle.
Okay, I think that was both good and bad advice. It's good advice if she means to say that you should be honest with the person that you're with. Of course, this is good advice, and this is important since trust and loyalty are necessary foundations for any genuine and intimate relationship. But it's bad advice if she means to say that you should always embrace your true and authentic self in marriage because your authentic self has problems and issues that you shouldn't embrace. If we got time later, I'll come back to that. Let's keep going.
So is there an expected fallout that extends beyond just the relationship of you and your wife? Like, is it more than just your guys' relationship that's at stake?
My job is tied to the church, so I could potentially lose my job. I would most likely lose my family, my friends, my wife. I would lose everything, basically. I would have nothing and no support.
Okay, hold on. I'm confused at this point. And you can tell me what you think down below, because so far, I don't know what he's actually talking about now when he says that he's coming out. Does he mean that he doesn't want to be married anymore? Does he mean that he has a boyfriend? Is he cheating? Or is he just struggling to be honest? All of those questions seem super relevant to me here because I'm not convinced that he honestly would lose everything if he were just being honest, but wants to still stay committed in his marriage. Now, if he's thinking about leaving his wife for another man or something like that, then it does make sense to me why he believes that he would lose everything. If that's the case, then I would question whether or not he thinks that it's worth it. And I don't think it matters here if he's gay or if he's straight. It's the same thing. If you're a leader at a Christian church and you choose to date someone that's not your wife or to leave your spouse, then by doing so, you're choosing to lose your job and your family. I guess the part that makes me confused is because at the beginning, he said that the most important person in his life is his wife, but after hearing this, I'm not so convinced that that's actually true. I mean, instead, if you think that it's worth losing your family and your job and your family security, then it seems to me that you think that you're the most important person in your life, not your wife.
Are we the...
My initial thought about when he said that is I thought that if he somehow come out saying that he's gay and the church is not accepting that as something tolerable or accepted, my initial thought is on that dilemma. I'm not sure if it is or what he's just said.
only people who know about this?
I've never told anyone.
Just based on this information now, you guys can switch to the other side if you want.
He was explaining what's at stake if he comes out immediately. Because of that, the more I thought about that, the more I was like, you know what, he's going to be losing literally everything because of this. So I feel like he needs to have some sort of plan in motion first.
And to pause right there real quick, I think that he does need a financial plan as well. If he loses his job, that impacts his wife and his kids if he has kids as well.
The reason I said no, I'm bisexual, same as you. It took me a cool minute to kind of come to terms with that. So it's like, I look more at like, am I safe? If you do, gone. You could lose a lot of things that you've built up on this foundation.
Have you at all considered reaching out to therapy or some sort of counseling to help you through this process?
In the community I live in, it's a little bit hard to find counseling. I live in a more rural area, so the majority of counselors are based through the church.
Can you tell me a little bit more?
Even that is, for me, hinting about the principles, because I'm not sure. One, all these guys of course, in the video, all these guys is, I don't think all of it are Christian. I don't think. So I think my question, if this is me, what do you think? Do you think how strong are you as a Christian? Do you think that is the truth? And do you think, based on the truths that you hold on to, is having a relationship? I'm not saying about tendency. You attracted to guy, for example, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about acting upon it. Do you think that is acceptable based on your faith? Because if his dilemma or conflict is that fundamental, I think that fundamental should be attended to first.
About your relationship with God, and has there been moments where you've personally experienced Him guide you?
Yeah, I would say, faith has been a deciding factor in all things that I do in my life, and that I don't follow God blindly. I've felt Him work in my life before. So for me, it's a real relationship that I have, and it's the most important relationship I have. God goes before everything else.
Okay, I'm confused. I don't know if you're confused, but I'm confused here. If God and His faith truly are His ultimate deciding factors, then it seems to me that the decision wouldn't be that difficult to make. Now, this isn't to say, and I don't want to act like I'm minimizing or downplaying the fact that temptation can be difficult and actually doing it can be hard, but if His faith really is His deciding factor, then it seems obvious that He should make the decision based on His faith rather than His feelings. All right, let's keep going.
I second that, even though my faith is in His faith, and I'm not a Christian, I'm a Muslim, but just based on what is being presented. For example, if a Muslim guy come to me and says, confess, and I have heard these stories, right? Meaning that they have actually inclination towards male rather than female. But if they truly believe that Allah created us and test us in many different ways, but the command of Allah is clear, and they really want to fulfill that command, obey that command. Of course, I acknowledge his test is much difficult than what I'm facing, the test that I'm facing. At the same time, if his decision making is guided by that, the question is more of not whether they want to follow that temptation, etc., how to manage it, how to overcome this, meaning it should go in that way rather than, I don't know.
Faith is just a huge factor for my truth. To me, that's what I resonated the most. So I wanted to be that representation of like, hey, if you just go in with blind faith, it could still work out.
If you show who you really are to somebody, to anybody, they're going to show you who they are, like 100% of the time. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who are kind of not in support of the person that you really are, then that's not a healthy situation to be in. And I think he should 100% come out, like, today.
I'm bisexual. It took me a cool minute. One of my, I'm not gonna name names, I'll say a family member, told my parents. It gave me a lot of anxiety. It was like, am I gonna get kicked out? I'm gonna stay here. Are they upset with me? It was very much like, okay, whatever, I don't wanna talk to you right now. And it's like, I know coming out, like everyone's like, do it, it's great. You'll feel better. But for me, coming out, it made me feel worse. Because I'm like, I live my truth, but it didn't make me feel the way I wanted to feel.
I believe that everybody should live their truth. You're not emotionally responsible for anybody. You don't owe anybody your life. You be you, and they'll figure out how to be them.
Okay, I don't think that I could disagree more with that. Now, that's a nice catchphrase, and it all sounds nice and good on the surface, but we're talking about a married man here. He is responsible, at least to some degree, for how his actions and decisions impact his family, whether it be emotionally or not. Now, I'm sure that this lady means well, and I can understand the sentiment to try to give support to people, but I don't think that she actually truly believes it. I mean, I could be wrong here, but I would be willing to bet that she would think that it's wrong for people not to support the LGBTQ people's emotions and not to mock them and belittle them and talk down to them and be condescending and so on.
You're not emotionally responsible for anybody.
I'm sure that she wouldn't like that advice if somebody was causing hurt and pain to the LGBTQ people because of their sexual orientation. So to be honest, I'm not even convinced that she fully understands what she's saying there and the implications of it. But again, I could be wrong.
I think it's different. Like you're saying, you're not responsible for other people's feelings, but it is, I know the guilt that I would feel as like a husband to be hiding something from my wife is like horrible.
Yeah, because like, let's also not forget that they are married. They have vows.
Yeah.
And part of
There's
those
a lot
vows
attached
is
to
to
that.
tell the truth. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because you're taking away another person's ability to live in reality, and that's wrong.
Okay, one thing that perhaps for me, if yes or no here, I mean, if I understand it, is coming out or not. What does coming out mean? Because if you being open and confess to the fact that you have that temptation, that's one thing. Because normally when people say coming out as gay, etc., I don't think that's just that, right? And it's different. It's more of you accepting that as your identity. It's more of that, right? And that will not go hand in hand with the faith that's mentioned earlier, unless he is from a Christianity, or he is Christian, but at the same time he think God accept gay relationship, right? I'm not saying about temptation. I'm talking about acting upon it.
I do want to point out that I'm not necessarily saying that he should wait like years to come out. I'm just saying maybe take just like a couple months. Like I would say go to counseling, go to therapy, figure out who you are, and who you are even without the church and without your wife and without all of that stuff. Once you figure all that out, then you can start going through that process of how am I going to come out.
Yeah, but I think the focus should be more like him just finding himself, like all that planning, like where's he going to go and all that stuff. Yeah, those are tough questions, but it doesn't have to be answered right now because, it takes baby steps.
Okay, again, I think that this is really bad advice coming from this girl. Her advice would work if he were the only man on earth, but of course he's not. This emphasis that people put on over-focusing on yourself is bound to conflict with reality, and it may cause this man to lose everything that he says is important to him. So again, not good advice.
Coming out is not ripping off a Band-Aid. It comes with so much anxiety. It comes with so much fallbacks depending on who you are, where your community is aligned, you know what I mean? And it shouldn't just be ripped off, because even ripping off Band-Aids hurt. You know what I mean? It's not a painless process just because it's quick. And people really need to understand that.
Oh, he shifted.
Was there anything in the discussion that caught your attention in some way?
I think when they were mentioning when you come out, like right now, that person will show their true colors to me. That resonated with me because that is true.
Okay, I hate to disagree, but I don't think that was good advice either. The reason why is because if you think about this entire situation, the person whose true colors haven't come out yet were his. The reason why this worries me is because if he comes out and his wife has a negative reaction to it, as she should since he's been essentially lying to her since the day they met, then if she doesn't react in a positive and friendly way, then he could just justify it as saying that she's just showing her true colors and she's always been against them or something like that. All right, it looks like we're getting a little bit closer to the end, so let's keep going.
The other issue that was brought up was the point of counseling and kind of preparing myself. I feel like that could be beneficial.
I think there was too much discussion of what's step 10, what's step 7, what do we do like 3 stages from now?
I think that's what he's getting at. I think what he needs from us is comfort.
Like ultimately, at the end of the day, people are going to be people, and you can't predict how someone's going to react.
Right.
Also, I've met people who've been in a dangerous situation because they came out.
So the biggest concern
My
is
community.
safety.
So one thing we talked about was not necessarily needing a plan because your dilemma isn't coming out to the world right now, but it's coming out to your wife, like your partner. And just as a married man of faith, you said your wife grew up in the church with you and you grew up in the church, and so your wife possesses those fruits of the Spirit that are like patience and kindness. And I think those attributes, like you said, it sounds like are in her. And so she would be loving and kind and patient with you.
No guarantees on that one. It's a gamble, hopefully though. All right, let's keep going.
One of the things I want to just encourage.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the fabric of trust, etc., that is there from the beginning, but throughout this time you have actually how to say, meaning that you have acted basically you have been lying, which is against that trust that is there, that is on the other side's behalf, right? So it's not, if they reacted poorly, it's not their fault as well. No, but if you put yourself in their shoes, for example, right?
You on is that you've been in a vulnerable position before where you had to put your whole trust in God and he came through. So I just encourage you to sometimes be okay with taking just the first step forward, and everything else you can figure out along the way.
So I first want to be clear that yes, you should come out, but you should definitely wait and give it a little bit more time, because we're worried about your safety, number one. The other thing too is that you need resources and you need time to get those resources. Like I said, like these divorce processes and everything, they don't take a week. And then it's all about your community, right? Personally, me and my family is super religious, so I very much understand where you're coming from about investing so much time in your community and the sense of loss that comes with it. But you have to understand that you'll be fine, your relationship with God will be fine, but this is a very tough decision that is more than that.
Jacob, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling like I got a lot of just helpful words that have helped me kind of put together an idea of what I want to do going forward.
Have you made a decision in your mind right now?
Yeah, I think I have.
Okay, real quick, before we get to what he's going to say, I just want to say it would be easy to look at this situation and just see it as a problem of sexual attraction and a problem of just sex, but I don't think that that's actually the real problem here. Sex problems in a marriage are rarely about sex. They're about far more than that, starting with communication. If you aren't communicating well, then it will come out in every other facet in your marriage, and it will come out in how you talk to each other and how you treat each other. Sex is actually just an extension of those things in your marriage. And second, since the guy says that he's a Christian, then we can address this from the Christian perspective, right? In Christianity, marriage isn't just about sex and about how you feel, but instead it's a commitment to love and care for your wife. As Christians, you don't leave your marriage just because you're attracted to someone else, whether it's another man or a woman. And you don't leave your marriage because you're not attracted to your spouse anymore. As Christians, our mission in marriage is to reflect the self-sacrificial love that we learn about in the gospel message.
Okay, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, right? In Catholic, you cannot get a divorce. Is that correct? What about, other type of Christianity, Protestant, etc.? If can you get a divorce? Meaning, I'm not talking about legally in the US, etc. I'm talking about faith, according to the faith.
And as men, we're told to love our wives as Christ loved the church. And Christ was actually willing to give his life for the church. That's what it means to love our wives. So if we aren't even willing to give up being someone else, if we're not even willing to give that up, then we aren't loving our wives in the way that Christ said for us to love our wives. So if he desires to be a Christ follower, then I think that that should be his aim and his goal, instead of finding a way to escape to be with another man, if that is actually what he's considering doing.
Yeah, so upon getting home, I told my wife that I wanted to do counseling. And we've been meeting with a wonderful counselor, and she has just been able to give us a lot of tools to work with. We meet one-on-one, so I get a chance to be very open with her about how I feel. So I think within the next few months, definitely, I'll be ready to fully come out and just prepare myself and my wife for that.
Okay, real quick, it seems that he's finding comfort in confessing his sins, which is why the Bible tells us to confess our sins to one another. It's actually good for us, and it's not good for anyone if you're just hiding things from yourself and from other people. What he seems to be finding comfort in is knowing that he's accepted despite his sins, and that can actually go a long way with people. I mean, after all, when we first decided to believe in Jesus, he accepted us despite our sins as well. What I found in my life is that after I came to really internalize and understand that gospel message, then it was far easier for me to say no to some sins that had a big stronghold on me prior to that. The more that we come to know that we're safe with them, then it makes it easier for us to be honest with ourselves and for us to actually work against our sin, as counterintuitive as that sounds. And so that's what I'm personally praying will happen for this guy as well. All right, last clip.
Now, when he said, because he actually used the word sin many times there, right? That sin is referring to the inclination, the temptation, or because throughout the story, I don't think that guy have actually acted upon it with another guy or something. It's more of internal battle, and it's just that it's become heavier and heavier to keep lying to the wife, I guess, because the attraction is no longer there, etc. Perhaps. So I think that's the case. So if in that case, and if he assuming he see it the same way, the sin is in which part? Is it having the temptation itself is a sin in Christianity? Because in Islam, if you resist it, you will be rewarded. As long as you do not act upon it, you are still not violating anything, because something that is not within your control, that is beyond your control, the inclination, the temptation, that's not your control, unless you actually indulge in it, even internally. Then that's your deeds of doing something. Then you have to answer about that. But if it's just battling against the temptation, that's not yet a sin in Islam. So if I missed something about what he called a sin just now.
I feel like the weight's been lifted a bit. I still have a journey to go through, and it's going to be hard either way, but I feel a bit of closure in the sense that I know what I want to do now. Well, I do believe that it's a decision to made faithfully through God. I also think that it should be a decision that's made with the help of a counselor. I think that it's only fair to my wife that when I come out, I do it in a way that's not only safe for me, but safe for her, and to make sure that I have the resources I need in case something does go wrong. Thank you. You guys are the first people that I've ever opened up to about this, so it was.
I know that if you hit that wall of just like, I don't feel like no one's gonna support me, no one has my back, know that we have your back. You know, in spirit, from the distance, like you have people who believe in you and who's gonna support you, you know, who want you to be happy, and you deserve that.
Okay, seems that that's it. So one good thing that I thought about the video, especially after watching the end, was the amount of acceptance that was displayed towards the guy. As Christians, we really should accept everyone in humility, knowing that we're no more deserving of God's love and grace and mercy than anyone else on this planet. But of course, that doesn't mean that we should encourage them to keep going down roads that are damaging for them and for other people. We can love and accept anybody, even our enemies and those that we don't agree with, while also wanting what's truly best for them. So no matter what your views are on this, I hope that you'll continue to pray for this man and his family, and go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this whole situation down below. And if you made it this far, I just want you to know I appreciate you. And also, YouTube thinks that you'll like this video the most.
Okay, so that's it. Of course, we do wish the best for everyone. And of course, as a Muslim, I'm hoping for the best of the best, which is he find the truth in Islam, find peace in Islam, and deal with it in accordance to what Allah have commanded us to do, and strive in this world, which is by definition a test, and hopefully will end in paradise, being rewarded by Allah for our effort, inshallah. That's my my thought. What do you think? Feel free to share, and with that, thank you for watching. See you next time.